Welcome to today's explainer. Okay, let's dive straight into the fascinating cognitive mechanics of those of us who navigate the world as natural observers. If you've ever been told you're, too quiet or too in your head, well, this psychological exploration is going to completely reframe how you view your own mind. We're looking at what it means to be a silent cartographer and the absolutely immense power of high-bandwidth cognitive processing.
To kick things off, ask yourself this Socratic question about your own experiences in social settings. Have you ever felt like you're watching a movie that everyone else is just walking through? Right? Think about that for a second. That profound feeling of being a passive ghost in the room is actually quite common among natural observers. Picture it. You're at a crowded dinner party or a bustling networking event, and while everyone else is just chatting away, you're observing, absorbing, analyzing. It can definitely feel alienating, but as we'll see, it's actually an incredibly dynamic state.
So, here's our syllabus for today. We're going to cover 1. The ghost in the room, 2. Mechanics of sensory delay, 3. Architecture of hidden patterns, 4. Burden of constant vigilance, and finally, 5. Mastering the observer advantage.
Section 1. The ghost in the room.
The truth is, you aren't just quiet. You are a silent cartographer. You know, a cartographer is a map maker, right? And in psychology, we use this term to describe someone who is actively reading the room's atmospheric shifts, while everyone else is merely reacting to surface-level events. Think about it. Someone drops a glass at a party. Most people just look at the broken glass. But the silent cartographer? They look at the host's fleeting grimace, the sudden tension in the partner's shoulders, the subtle shift in the room's energy. You're out there literally mapping the invisible emotional terrain.
Section 2. Mechanics of sensory delay.
So the crucial point here is comparing those who react instantly with those who intentionally delay. On one hand, we've got the immediate reactor. They respond instantly to surface stimuli. Hear a joke? Laugh. Hear a question? Answer. But the silent cartographer operates totally differently. They prioritize sensory intake to allow complex patterns to crystallize. It's an intentional pause. They're holding off on their reaction so they can gather more data from the environment.
And this brilliantly illustrates that this chronic vigilance isn't passive at all. It's a high-bandwidth cognitive processing style working in absolute overdrive. While you might look still on the outside, your brain is downloading massive files of environmental data. It's a highly active state used to decipher reality's hidden architecture. You aren't checked out. You're tuned in at a frequency most people don't even possess.
Section 3. Architecture of hidden patterns.
Okay, let's dive into this process with a real-world case study. Imagine you're in a high-stakes business negotiation. An observer first maps micro-expressions. That's step 1. You notice the slight tightening around the CEO's eyes when a price is mentioned. Step 2. You note atmospheric shifts. The room suddenly got quieter. Maybe the opposing team leaned back slightly. Step 3. You transform that raw observation into profound insight. You realize, they're bluffing about their bottom line. It's a systematic 3-step cognitive sequence happening in milliseconds.
Now, you might be wondering, how does this cognitive processing style function as a vital tool in high-pressure environments? Whether it's an emergency room, a chaotic crisis management center, or even just a tense family dispute, how does being a silent cartographer give you an edge? Well, by allowing complex patterns to crystallize before acting, observers decipher reality's hidden architecture instead of just reacting blindly. In high-pressure environments, immediate reactors often make panic mistakes because they only see the surface threat. But the observer? By deciphering that hidden architecture, they see the root cause and the safest way forward. You don't react blindly, you respond strategically based on a fully rendered map of the situation.
Section 4. Burden of constant vigilance.
We do need to talk about the burden of this trait, because this level of psychological processing is absolutely not free. Let's break down the immense cognitive load here. Look at where the mental energy goes. A massive 40% is dedicated to mapping micro-expressions, and another 40% goes into tracking those subtle atmospheric shifts. The remaining 20% is actually spent on the sheer willpower of withholding an immediate reaction. Dedicating 80% of your cognitive energy just to scanning and absorbing the room is undeniably exhausting. To put that into perspective, it perfectly explains the introvert hangover or social fatigue you might feel after a seemingly harmless event. Your brain literally ran a marathon while you were just sitting on the couch.
Section 5. Mastering the observer advantage.
So as we wrap up today's lecture, let's go over some practical tips for managing chronic observation. First, acknowledge it as a high-bandwidth style, not passivity. Actually scratch that. Stop telling yourself you're just shy.
Second, deliberately prioritize sensory intake. Give yourself permission to just observe without pressure to perform. Third, allow time for complex patterns to crystallize. Really, don't rush your conclusions. And fourth, consciously focus on transforming that raw data into profound insight. When you intentionally pace yourself, the exhaustion transforms into empowerment.
Master the observer advantage. You are a silent cartographer, deciphering a hidden architecture of reality that others completely miss. Remember, your chronic observation is quite literally a cognitive superpower. The next time you find yourself quiet in a crowded room, don't feel like a ghost. Stand tall, knowing you hold the map to a world that everyone else is just walking through completely blind.
If you found this explainer on the hidden patterns of the human mind illuminating, please subscribe to PsychoSense to continue our explorations. But before you go, I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder today. In a world obsessed with those who speak the loudest, what entirely new reality might open up to you if you finally fully trusted the quiet power of what you see? Thanks for joining, and keep mapping those hidden patterns.